They've turned up the music loud. I mean, this result might not be a victory, but Nikki Haley's crowd is very excited that they have beaten the polls. The interpretation is going to be very, very difficult, but every single piece of positive news, and they're interpreting positive as just beating the polls, has been very warmly received here. These are the true believers, these are the campaign workers. You would expect them to be excited, but I think it's genuine. I think they think Nikki Haley is able to keep pushing on in this contest. Now, we will see what the new day will bring and whether or not the big donors who have contributed so much to her campaign, whether or not they are willing to keep bankrolling it. But given that the margin is less than what people were expecting, at this point, you would think her campaign at least has a shot of surviving. In saying all that, New Hampshire was her best state. All the polls suggest that it gets much harder for Nikki Haley from here. As you can see, the people have taken the stage. But tonight, Nikki Haley's campaign is trying to build enthusiasm. They will try to interpret this as a victory. They will try to interpret this as a push towards further states. But let's see what the new day brings.
It certainly does look like a celebration there, Carrington, doesn't it? So what does this mean for Nikki Haley then? Where does the bandwagon move from here?
Yeah, I mean, Nikki Haley has repeatedly said that she will continue on after New Hampshire. We spoke to her campaign worker a little earlier. He says Nikki Haley is in this race in part because they know that the opposition is facing 91 criminal counts. Donald Trump has a host of legal troubles that could interrupt his campaign at any time. At the moment, those legal fights seem to have been a boon for him when it comes to the Republican base. And although a conviction and jail time wouldn't necessarily mean that Donald Trump wouldn't compete in the presidential election, given the weight of those legal battles, it is possible that something would happen. So Nikki Haley, at the moment, is the only other person in this competition. She might see herself as a potential reserve option if something was to befall Donald Trump. There is still a long way to go before the November presidential election, and although Donald Trump might want this to be completely wrapped up after tonight, as far as the Republican nomination is concerned, Nikki Haley might think it's worthwhile to invest the time and resources in order to push this further along.
Carrington, thank you. Well, let's go back to our election analyst, Casey Briggs, with me in the studio. So, Casey, what do these numbers mean for the rest of the campaigns?
Well, Donald Trump has just made a statement as well on his victory here. It sort of tells you a bit about what the tone of the next few days, I think, might look like. President Trump's kind of campaign chief executive has said, Nikki Haley said she's running to stop the re-election of Harris-Biden, yet without a viable path to victory, every day she stays in this race is another day she delivers to the Harris-Biden campaign, and then calls for Nikki Haley to drop out. So the question here is, what will Nikki Haley do? Because this is an overperformance on the opinion polls that had suggested that she would fall quite a bit further behind. So that's a very good thing for her campaign going forward. Having said that, New Hampshire is widely regarded as Nikki Haley's best state, her best chance of winning a primary. It's a less conservative, less religious state. It's a more open primary where unaffiliated and undeclared voters can take part in the process. And the expectations are she won't do as well in other states. And her campaign may well be facing questions around, well, if you can't win here, where can you beat Donald Trump? So I suspect Nikki Haley has vowed to proceed and push on to future states. She will. She may well do that from here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that her path is viable, and she may well face some more pressure going forward.
And just quickly, there have been developments for the Democrats as well. Yeah,
so there was a Democratic primary, complicated reasons. No delegates are being awarded in this, and Joe Biden actually refused to be on the ballot. Despite that, Joe Biden has won, thanks to a write-in campaign. So we can pretty clearly tell that Joe Biden, we know that about 75% of votes in the Democratic primary were write-ins. We suspect the vast majority of those are for Joe Biden. So not on the ballot, has won. The question will be by what thumping margin. This primary, though, doesn't actually make a whole lot of impact because there are no delegates to be won here.
Okay.